You ever decide you're finally going to learn a new language, and for the first 3 days, you feel like a genius? Like you're walking around saying bonjour to your cat. You've got Duolingo sending you daily notifications like an overprotective parent, and you genuinely believe, yeah, I could probably be fluent in 6 months. Fast forward to day 4, you're staring at a wall, questioning why verbs need conjugations, and suddenly your phone is full of videos titled, How to Learn Any Language in 2 Weeks by a guy who took 5 years to learn Spanish. But hey, learning a language is easy. All you have to do is pick a language you have no actual reason to learn. Do one lesson, forget about it completely, feel guilty about it for the next 2 years. That's the cycle for most people. But if you actually want to learn a language, like really learn it, you got to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Sure, if you pick a language that's difficult enough, people will be impressed. Your friends will think you're smart. Random strangers on the internet will compliment you. And if you're lucky, you might even make some money from it. But let's be honest, if the only thing keeping you going is the idea that one day someone at a party might say, wow, you speak Mandarin, you're not going to make it past lesson 3. So here's the first real step. Pick a language that's actually doable for you. If you've never learned another language before, don't start with something that requires you to change the way you think about time, space, and reality itself. Start with something close to what you already know. Spanish, French, or Portuguese are great options if you speak English. They're widely spoken, relatively easy, and you won't feel like your brain is melting every time you try to form a sentence. Maybe you want a challenge. That's fine too. Just ask yourself, am I doing this because I actually want to communicate in this language, or do I just want to flex on people? Because wanting to watch anime without subtitles? Not the strongest motivation. Wanting to understand your friends when they switch languages mid-conversation? That's solid motivation. Needing English to survive because your entire education system suddenly switched to it? That's bulletproof motivation, and historically it's worked really well. All right, now that you've picked a language, what's next? Most people will tell you the fastest way to learn is to get a language partner. Someone who sits with you, speaks slowly, and patiently corrects you while you butcher their native tongue. And yeah, that's great if you like interacting with people, but what if you're like me and your ideal conversation involves zero human interaction? Here's what you do instead. First, learn the basics properly. Most people rush through this stage because they're eager to start speaking or watching movies in their target language. But skipping the basics is like trying to build a house without a foundation. You might make some progress, but sooner or later, everything is going to fall apart. The key here is structured learning. Apps like Duolingo are great for casual practice, but they won't give you a strong enough foundation. Instead, you need a beginner-friendly textbook or course that actually explains grammar, sentence structure, and pronunciation. A good beginner textbook will walk you through essential grammar rules in a logical order, introduce high-frequency vocabulary, words you'll actually use in daily life, and provide structured exercises that force you to apply what you learn. If textbooks sound too boring, audio courses are also great. These focus on spoken conversation and help you internalize sentence patterns through repetition. Another solid method is story-based learning, where you read and listen to simple stories in your target language. Teach yourself stories or Ling Q are great for this. Spend at least 2 weeks in this stage before moving on. You should be able to introduce yourself, form simple sentences, understand basic grammar concepts like present tense and subject-verb agreement, and recognize and pronounce common sounds in the language. Once you have a basic grasp of the language, immersion is what separates casual learners from people who actually get fluent. But most people do this wrong. They jump straight into watching native content without understanding anything and then get frustrated when it feels impossible. Here's the right way to do it. Start with bilingual content. Look for resources that show your target language and your native language side by side. Good options include YouTube channels that teach through stories. Search for language stories with subtitles, parallel texts, books that have one page in your native language and one in the target language, or comics and webtoons with both languages available. Use comprehensible input. This means listening to content that is just slightly above your level, where you understand at least 30–50%. Some great sources are YouTube channels like Easy Languages. They interview native speakers with subtitles. Podcasts like Coffee Break Languages, slow and beginner-friendly, and even kids' TV shows. Yes, really. Dora the Explorer in another language is a fantastic learning tool. And don't just passively watch. If you're watching Netflix in another language with English subtitles, congratulations, you're still just watching TV in English. Instead, watch short clips multiple times, first with subtitles, then without. Pause and repeat difficult sentences out loud. Write down 5 to 10 useful phrases from every video you watch. Immersion isn't about mindlessly consuming content. It's about interacting with it in a way that makes you remember and apply what you learn. Listening is the biggest hurdle for most learners because native speakers talk fast. Your brain hears a rapid blur of sounds and it feels impossible to separate words. But here's the secret. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to recognize enough to guess the meaning. Listen to what you already know. If you've been learning basic greetings, find videos of real people using them. If you've learned food vocabulary, watch cooking videos. Familiarity makes comprehension easier. Train your ear. The more you listen, the better your brain gets at recognizing words, even if you don't understand them yet. Some exercises to improve listening. Transcription practice. Listen to a short clip and try to write down what you hear. Fill in the blank exercises on apps like Closemaster or LingQ. And the echoing technique. Play a sentence, pause, and repeat it out loud. Once you start understanding some words, it's time to start speaking. And no, you don't need a partner for this. Just talk to yourself, record yourself saying simple sentences, narrate your day, whisper random phrases while you're cooking. It doesn't matter. The goal is to make speaking feel natural. And yes, you'll sound ridiculous at first, but that's kind of the point. Writing is another thing people skip because it feels like homework. But writing forces you to slow down and actually think about how sentences are structured. Even if you're just writing one sentence a day, it's going to make a massive difference. Start with something simple, like writing what you did today, even if all you can manage is, I ate food. Trust me, eventually you'll be writing full paragraphs, and that's when you'll realize you're making real progress. Now at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds good, but how do I know it's working? Well, here's the test. If you start watching something in your target language, and instead of hearing pure gibberish, you catch a few words and think, wait, I know what that means, you're making progress. If you can form a sentence, even a terrible one, without translating in your head, you're winning. And if you ever get to the point where you dream in the language, congratulations, your brain has officially been hijacked. The secret to actually succeeding is simple. Don't stop. The people who become fluent aren't the ones who learn the fastest, they're the ones who don't quit. So here's the challenge. If you've ever thought about learning a language, start today. Just one small step. Now go learn something.